Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are actually in the same room. I'm actually visiting for the holidays, so this will be a unique experience. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
But
he gets to see the production side on my end.
yeah, today we are celebrating the year of pop culture that was 2024 with our first annual Sharky Awards. We'll be picking what was our favorites of television, games, retro, comics, animation, and film. Uh, my choices are not Caleb's choices, so it'll be an interesting debate.
Mhm.
Um,
I do think that there are some that I agree with on yours.
mhm.
That I didn't pick just because you had already picked them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's some big ones I left off my list that Caleb probably picked. Sometimes, it just didn't hit the right way with me, and I thought other things were better. And so we're going to go through the list. So we're going to start with best in television.
Yep. And so these are kind of our individual runner-ups. So off to the side, and I couldn't find a good picture of it because for all intents and purposes, it's not official, is it?
Technically, yes, Star Trek allowed them to use it.
Okay.
And so, their name is on it in the credits.
Okay.
So it's technically, not technically. Is it canon? Is it not canon? We're not sure. But this was a short film that came out, I think, last month or the month before by the Roddenberry Archives. This is Unification. And I can't remember what the number was. I went with 765874 Unification. And this was actually worked on. They actually got William Shatner in on this, and this is kind of like a end cap to the whole story, where it's kind of vague. We don't know where William Shatner or where Kirk is. This is Genesis. This is the what was it called in Generations? It's not the Tempest, but it's.
I think
I'm drawing a complete blank of what it is.
The Vortex,
something like that. It's not the Vortex either, but something like that. Everybody at home screaming the answer.
Everybody at home probably never heard of this. I hadn't.
But anyhow, or is this heaven? But we see Kirk seeing all the people who have had an effect on his life and on Spock's life, and he kind of sees reflections of his past, and when he was on the old TV show, and then the movies, and then current day, and
so his life is flashing before his eyes.
Yes, basically, and then we have this reunion with Spock, and they both look out into the rising sun, and it's beautiful. A lot of times Trek stories don't always get the best wrap up, or you're like, Generations was not a good ending for Kirk, or tragically Leonard Nimoy died while they were remaking the new movies, and so Spock's story just kind of abruptly ends. So this is a lovely end cap and a lovely love letter to the Star Trek fans. I thought it was great.
Would you say that? So is it? Because in the full picture, it's there's one laying down and one standing up. Is it Kirk that's laying down?
It's Spock that's laying down.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's almost like Kirk, Spock is on his deathbed, and Kirk walks in and holds his hand as the sun rises, and they both look at the sun. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So if I may think too deep into it, this could be like Kirk was also in the wormhole.
The Nexus is what it's called.
The Nexus. Oh, you know what? That's okay. That's yes. Right. Because of
In Generations, the Nexus, they say you never truly leave the Nexus. There's always a part of you in there. So is this Kirk returning to the Nexus? Is Spock somehow there?
Mm-hmm.
We also see, I think her name is Saavik from the old Star Trek 3 or 4, whatever movie she was in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of implied that she was pregnant with Spock's son. So you see Spock's son also there. It's really cool.
And I guess one could imply, and this is me being like like my Star Trek knowledge begins and ends with the movies and like some of the stuff that you've shown me. If I could like theorize, it could be like maybe Spock has ended up in the Nexus as well because he died in a timeline where he didn't belong.
Could be. They could also be on planet Genesis, because Genesis, you never live or die. There's some weird quote about life or death.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is it references. There's little references to the Return novels that William Shatner wrote, where Captain Kirk survives after Genesis. There's references to that. There's references to Picard season 3. There's references to the comic books, the old series. There's all kinds of little Easter eggs everywhere. So it's really cool if you've been following all this.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're a Trek fan, it's on YouTube for free. Go check it out. This is Unification 765874. It's like 10 minutes long. It's great.
I probably could have taken the time to watch, but I don't know if like it's not for me. You know, like it's for someone like you. You know what I mean?
You should watch it just to check out the effects of making Kirk look young.
Okay.
It's really cool. Really well done. He doesn't speak though. That's the thing. Once they speak, it kind of breaks the effect, you know?
Yeah, that's Tarkin was the only one that I ever thought looked really good. The rest of them I don't think looked good.
And also at the end, in the special thanks, I thank Kevin Feige. So I don't know what he had to do with this, but he helped get this made.
Okay.
I think Alex Ross, the comic book artist, is thanked.
That makes sense.
You know, so it's really cool. And like I said, William Shatner helped make this. And what was cool was, I think it's in Las Vegas. They have the Star Trek experience. We can sit on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sitting in the captain's chair when they premiered it and watching it from the
captain's
chair.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's a cool one. So
what's your first runner-up?
So my first runner-up is one that I don't really ever talk about because like it doesn't necessarily fit in the format of the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a show on FX called English Teacher.
I've never heard of this.
Yes. So essentially, it is. It is about an English teacher who is openly gay.
Okay.
And he teaches in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the main focus is the fact that the teachers are so confused because now the kids have come full circle, where like kids have no interest in being woke anymore. And so they're like, they were woke and now they have no interest in being woke. Like, I can't keep up. And so that's kind of the whole point of the show. And so like the teacher that everyone really likes is the gym teacher, who is technically he's a bigot, but he's also got like, he's a well-meaning bigot, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like that it's his quote unquote best friend, but not like best friend by happenstance rather than actually being friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gym teacher's like, "Hey, Fruit Loops, wait up." He's like, "Dude, you can't call me Fruit Loops." He's like, "Hey, there's nothing wrong with Fruit Loops, man. It's just a cereal." He's like,
"That's great.
Well, then why don't you call me Cheerios?" He's like, "Because there ain't nothing gay about Cheerios." So it's a show that like, it's a show that is either for everybody or for nobody. I'm not sure which, but that's why I like it.
It's an interesting reflection of reality that the pendulum between left and right is swinging out of control, and no one knows where. I don't think it's ever going to stop, but you just kind of grab on and hold on. And
yeah. One thing I will let it be known: there's nothing explicit, but because he is openly gay, like there's nothing explicit, but there is like the classic James Bond, like he's in bed with another man, fade to black.
Gotcha.
He's, fade in from black post whatever.
Yeah.
And they're there. So like there is that. But and it's an FX show, so this is like this is where It's Always Sunny is at. This is where Atlanta's at. So,
Right,
so
right.
it's one step below. I've always said FX is probably one step below HBO. So just know that going into it. But I think it is just, it's so funny. And I've never gotten anybody to like actually sit down and watch it, but like it's one of those things where like I can get people to watch some clips.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's this one episode where one of his students develops asymptomatic Tourette's. And it's only self-diagnosable, and it's offensive to ask questions.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. So this is one that we randomly just started watching because I think so the way we would watch Agatha is we go over to my parents' house on Wednesday, because Wednesdays whenever Agatha would be uploaded on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have dinner. Cameron would go to church because his church has Wednesday night. And then he'd come back, and then by 9:00 Agatha's posted. So I would just hang out with my parents, and then we just happened to find this show and we started watching it while he went to church.
Gotcha. Cool.
So yeah, this is just one that we randomly found. But yeah, speaking of one step below HBO, speaking of FX, you have one as well.
A lot of my lists kept changing. What I had as number one kept switching to number two. At one point, I had Unification as number one. This, any one of these could be number one. Shogun is fantastic. It is a remake of the 1980s miniseries that's also based on a novel.
Did you ever take time to go back and watch that?
I did not. I need to. I don't know. I think I had trouble finding it streaming. I need to.
Mm.
And when you have two shows that have the same name, then it gets hard to find things.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, the show's won multiple Emmys, well deserved, about feudal Japan, where a European washes up on shore, his ship crashes, and then there's kind of like a war going on between the different fiefdoms or whatever they're called, and he's kind of caught in the middle. A lot of political intrigue going on, some fantastic acting, and Cosmo Jarvis plays the European guy. He's got one of the best names ever.
Cosmo Jarvis. I always make the joke that so Keanu Reeves in any movie, he's got the coolest names like Johnny Mnemonic or Neo, Shadow the Hedgehog. But I've always thought his name was the coolest in The Replacements, because he was the quarterback Shane Falco, and I'm like, that's just the coolest name. So yeah. Cosmo Jarvis,
Johnny Utah?
Johnny Utah, that's right.
Yeah.
John Wick.
Right. Yeah. Really cool. It also has, I always get his name wrong, Hiroyuki Sanada.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
He's awesome in anything he's in, and he is great playing basically the main character of the series.
So it's a European who washes up. How close is this to Last Samurai? Well, I still haven't gotten to this. I will get to it.
I haven't seen Last Samurai, so I have no idea.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then Anna Sawai? Sawai? I don't know how to say her name.
Anna Sawai, yeah.
Yeah, she is the best part of the show. Lady Mariko, I think is her character name.
Mm-hmm.
She gives one of the best speeches you'll ever see in television. It's awesome. I really love the show. Beautifully shot, gorgeous. And
tomorrow this will be your number one.
It can change, yeah. It's got the guy from the Thor movies that played Hogun. I can't think of his name. He plays a great kind of Weasley, is he good, is he bad type character throughout the series. And he is fantastic. He is really, really good. I really love the cast in this. There's a lot of upsetting things in this, like a guy loses honor by defending the Shogun, and they're like, "You're out of line. We're going to kill you." And now you're dealing with this wife who now has lost everything because her husband lost honor. And how does that affect their family?
So
and not only did they kill him, they had to kill the baby also to end the line completely.
by defending the Shogun,
He like
failed.
They were like meeting between the different leaders,
Mhm.
and he embarrassed them by speaking out of line and and it's like, this is messed up.
Yeah. One rung below HBO.
But this is how it was.
Yeah.
So it's really, really interesting, just the way that the whole culture worked, and great series.
Shout out to Ubisoft. Like, how cool can it be when you do research?
Oh yeah, Ubisoft. Yeah, yeah.
So my next runner-up is one that
It's kind of controversial.
It's kind of controversial. However, it's one of those where, like, I think it's unfortunate that this one's controversial because, like, I think a lot of people just didn't watch this, like, understandably.
It seemed like the people that watched it were the people that were already hating on Marvel, and so this show just got totally demolished. I didn't bother watching this, even though I really liked the character. I just didn't really have a whole lot of interest.
It is really good. It is one of the best adaptations of Wizard of Oz.
There you go. Now you might get me interested because I really like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where it's one of those things where, like, in WandaVision, it's kind of inspired by a certain thing, and then in one of the last episodes, they kind of just go all out and bring it to the forefront. So eventually, Agatha is, like, dressed up as the Wicked Witch of the West, and it's one of those things where like it eventually, like, just comes right out and says it. One thing about Agatha that I think is very interesting, and this is not a spoiler because I say it out of context and people have no idea what I'm talking about, but somehow it does the WandaVision twist again, and it still works because it still tricks you. And I say that out of context because people won't know what I'm talking about. But this, for all intents and purposes, this involves the Witch's Road. Which the Witch's Road is one of my favorite storylines from it's gonna bother me now. Who wrote it was a recent Scarlet Witch run where they introduced the idea of the Witch's Road. James Robinson wrote this run on Scarlet Witch that I really like. And so it's about that. The Mrs. Hart from WandaVision, Kitty from That 70s Show.
Yeah.
She's on the poster, and that's because she's a main character throughout the show. Like, they bring her along, and, like, you think that she's gonna, like, die immediately, but she doesn't. Like, she's actually a character, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
Because she still has no idea what's going on. There is a single episode that is brilliant. With the way that it's paced, because there is a character who experiences life out of order.
Okay.
And so there's one episode where we experience life the way she does. And so it's very interesting.
Gotcha.
And
that does
then,
sound cool.
Yeah. And then I don't think this is a spoiler because at this point I think everybody knows this is a Wiccan origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done really well.
I think this show introduces, I think, at least 3 major characters that will be big players moving forward.
3, maybe 4.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go ahead because it's not confirmed, but Billy has a boyfriend.
Oh, the Hulkling stuff.
Who could be a Skrull.
Yeah.
Who could be a Skrull.
I think the original plan was for it to be Teddy, and then Marvel said no, so he changed his name to Eddie or something dumb.
It was something like that.
So yeah, it could be Hulkling, but I think plans behind the scenes maybe changed. There's a big, I don't want to get into politics, but there's a big shift of who won the election, and so they're dialing back some of those themes.
Yeah.
So they could be dialing back the gay stuff.
Yeah.
In this. I don't know.
Which there is that. I just realized that both my runner-ups are very
woke.
Well, like homosexuality is a big thing in both of these, but like so with I mean they're witches.
Mhm.
That's kind of like even if you like that's how covens work.
Yeah.
So
if you've studied witch history, that is a big part of it.
Speaking of, Aubrey Plaza, of course, is amazing.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how her character will play out in future Marvel,
especially with a certain Merc.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of the other character.
You're thinking of the other character,
yeah. We're being vague, but two of the most popular characters are Thanos and Deadpool. Will be our hints. Have I wouldn't say a relationship with this character.
Yeah, the actual song that they sing throughout the actual song that they sing throughout the show about the Witch's Road, it's an earworm that'll get stuck in your head, and then in the final episode, it like completely turns it on its head.
Nice.
So it's like this is one of those where it's like I think that not just Marvel, but I think the fact that this came out after The Acolyte, which also dealt with witches, I think that really turned a lot of people off.
Which also came after Hocus Pocus 2. So they've Disney has 99 Problems, but a witch ain't one.
Right. But it's unfortunate because this is one that's like it's really good, and I stand by this. Marvel can get superheroes wrong sometimes. MCU specifically, MCU can get superheroes wrong sometimes. They can get cosmic really wrong sometimes. But as far as the Marvel Mystic side, their worst thing is at least decent as far as like Mystic goes.
Maybe one day I'll check it out. No promises. We'll see.
I think if Vision Quest comes out, you might check this out.
Probably. Yeah. If Vision Quest is going to involve Ultron and maybe we get Victor La Mancha in there, some other characters, then maybe I'm in.
And this also once again proves that Wiccan is the interesting one and Speed is just kind of there.
Yeah. I always forget about Speed. Yeah.
But yes, so these are our runner-ups.
So when we flip the slide, you're going to know both of our number ones.
Yes.
I think it's the way Caleb has it set up.
Yeah.
I was not planning on watching this show. I had no interest in this show whatsoever when it was announced years ago. Caleb had me watch the Batman. I kind of fell in love with it. Yeah. And then I still wasn't planning on watching Penguin. And then I just started watching Penguin. And holy cow, this show is amazing.
And ironically, I was the one super excited about it. And I still haven't watched it.
I hear this compared a lot to The Sopranos. I haven't seen Sopranos. So now I'm kind of tempted to watch Sopranos because this is so good.
Sopranos, I like Sopranos, but it's one of those things where like it's the same thing that I have a problem with like Mad Men and Game of Thrones, where like I need like a truly good character to latch onto. Even if you're going to break my heart by the end, I still have to be able to latch onto him. And The Sopranos, I never really found someone who was like a good person. So
Penguin is interesting because you forget he's the bad guy until he reminds you that, oh yeah, this is the bad guy. I forgot.
Well, I mean, I always felt the same way about Robin Taylor, what's his face, as the Penguin in Gotham.
Yeah.
Which I stand by. I think he's a great Penguin as well. But I think that's kind of like, so Penguin is not one who belongs in Arkham, you know. He typically goes to Blackgate along with like Catwoman
The
because
prisons, yeah.
yeah. So like he's not insane. Well, he's not criminally insane in the same way that like Poison Ivy
Okay.
or the Joker are. And so I think that's kind of why he can kind of be pulled off like this, because he's more human, maybe is the word. Now, I've never seen this show. I'm just going based off of the Penguin character.
This show is repeatedly Penguin getting in over his head over and over and over, and you're not knowing how he's going to get out of this. And
Okay.
somehow he keeps finding a way.
Is he like the weasel that keeps weaseling his way out of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Along the way, they kind of do a Jason Todd story where he takes in a kid who is breaking into his car as his.
I've heard about that. I don't know how it ends, but
a kid named Vic. So if you're kind of rooting for somebody, it's probably Vic.
Okay.
It's the kid from Runaways that played Alex.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't like Runaways, but I liked him.
Yeah, he's great in this. Everybody's great in this. Is a lot of the characters from Long Halloween and Dark Victory.
I hear that Kristen Milioti steals the show.
She is awesome. Sophia. She changes her name throughout the series. So
she's
Falcone, then she's later Gigante.
Gigante, yeah.
She is amazing in this. Like, everybody's amazing in this. And you forget it's Colin Farrell until you see him like behind the scenes talking with the penguin makeup on. You're like, whoa, this is Colin Farrell. Wait, what?
Well, I mean, that's how he is in the movie too. Is like that's Colin. Look at him right. His name is right next to his face on the poster, and I don't believe it.
Yeah. He lies to everybody in the series, and the thing you have to realize is the person he's lying to the most is himself.
Oh.
And that's kind of something you realize towards the end. You're like, oh. There is a great Dan Slott story, Arkham Asylum.
About Living Hell.
About the white shark.
Yeah.
You kind of see something similar to Sophia, and it's great. It's so good. That episode is fantastic.
I love Living Hell.
They also hint there's like 2 other Batman villains they kind of hint at.
I saw there was a Scarecrow hint. Was that
Scarecrow hint?
And
there's also a Clayface hint.
So that one I'm really excited for, because it actually has been confirmed that Mike Flanagan is working on that one. Mike Flanagan, he did the Dr. Sleep movie. He did Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass. He's basically Stephen King's chosen one. And so he's kind of perfect for Clayface.
Clancy Brown is Salvatore Moroni.
Oh, that's great.
It's so good.
That's great.
It's so good. And so you got Penguin kind of pitting. He's like trying to hide what he did by pitting the Falcones and the Moronis against each other. So they'll ignore him. It's really good. And then on top of all this, Penguin's dealing with his mom who has dementia, trying to take care of her. And this is a very R-rated show. Even though it's a Batman show, lots of language, violence, some nudity. It kind of goes everywhere. But nudity's not too bad. It's just a couple.
So it goes farther than the Batman then?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know what's funny? Broad strokes, everything you're describing is kind of Penguin's character arc in Gotham, but I'm sure this is much better.
It's so good. It is so good. And for me to pick this over Shogun just shows how much I really love this series. And where it ends off at is a very interesting place, and I'm curious to see where it picks up with Batman 2.
There is one thing that I find interesting that I kind of hope it goes. And I don't know if they talk about this at all in the show, but I remember that his name isn't Cobblepot, right? His name is Oz Cobb.
Yeah, let's see. Cobb. Yeah, it's just Oswald Cobb.
So Cobb is the surname of the Talon, who is the assassin for the Court of Owls.
Interesting.
And an owl is a bird, and a penguin is also a bird. So I'm wondering if they're like starting early on the Court of Owls references, because I think out of any universe to do Court of Owls, this is the one that would really do it.
Yeah. And the other thing is this is picking up like right after the Batman, so the town's like kind of destroyed from
the flood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they reference that a lot. So it's really picking up.
How does this deal with Batman as a character?
That's my one complaint.
Okay.
Is that the series largely acts like he doesn't exist until the very, very end. Okay. And he's not in it at all. So there's kind of a reference to him at the end.
Is it one of those things, like, do they ever like be like, oh, the Bat, come on, he's not real.
He's not mentioned.
He's just not mentioned. Okay.
Which is weird, because there are major events that happen where you're like, oh, him and Gordon would be there investigating, and they're not.
Which is also weird, because the Batman is 2 years into his career, so we're well past year one.
Now the writers, producer, whatever, said there's a destroyed city. He's off saving other people right now.
That is true. I mean, like you read No Man's Land. I get it,
but there's time passing here, so I'm like, yeah, surely. I mean, that is my one complaint about the show, is that there really is zero mention of Batman until the final scene.
Gotcha. Which I think they're supposed to start filming Batman 2.
It's been delayed.
Again?
2027, I'm hearing now. Just only 2 years.
Yeah.
But they said the script is being reworked, or it's not an official script yet or something. James Gunn made some announcement the other day.
Which is strange, because like I know that he is going to be largely hands off.
Yeah. But I think there's two. There's the Batman Brave and the Bold, or whatever. There's some other Batman movie about him and Damian that's also in production.
That's Andy Muschietti's character.
I think both of the Batman films are delayed.
Okay, I knew that one was delayed because they don't have. I saw a tweet from James Gunn that I thought was interesting, which is because the third film, as someone tweeted that they thought it was weird that the third film announced by James Gunn is Clayface. And it's like, what's going on over DC? And he's like, well, Clayface is just the third film that has a script that's done.
Yeah.
So like it's not, I think that he's definitely going to be very different from Feige in the fact that I think he wants creators to come to him with an idea, and then he'll like...
It'll be interesting. I hope he doesn't get spread too thin. I'm hearing chatter that the early strings for Superman are not good, but who knows? Test audiences are stupid.
Yeah.
Usually when test audiences love something, I hate it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. The movie doesn't come out for another 7 months or so. So, I mean, that's a lot of time to make changes and adjust things. So,
and you also got to... This should be a show. Most people don't understand Superman.
Oh, true. True.
Like, test audiences maybe aren't ready for Superman.
And I mean, just looking at 12 Monkeys that we just watched, the test audiences hated it, did not understand the movie, and he was kind of like, "Test audiences be damned, I'm releasing it as is."
Yeah,
you know. So you got to remember, test audiences a lot of times just they're going around a mall and at 12 noon and just saying you want to go watch a movie and get your opinion. It's not the best viewers,
Right.
So, Penguin, I'll leave it at this. That final episode kept me up that night, where I couldn't stop thinking about it. Last time that happened was when I saw, was it Last Jedi? When I saw that, I could not go to sleep afterwards because that one I was more angry or confused. But this one, yeah, it's a dark show, man. it's wild, and highly recommend it.
So my number one, my winner is also an animal. The Bear. The Bear is a show that I've loved since it started airing. Once again, it's on FX. FX is just kind of killing it right now. And essentially, at this point, this is where we're at season 3. So like, they're still dealing with grief. That's the whole show is about dealing with grief and about Carmi's brother taking his own life, and they're probably going to be dealing with that throughout the entire show. But at this point, they have opened the restaurant. They've opened the restaurant proper, and they're just at this point they're prepping for a silent reviewer to come in to the restaurant. And there's so many guest stars. Jamie Lee Curtis guest stars as an episode as their mom, and she's fantastic. There's a character played by Maddie Matheson, who is a cook on YouTube. And he's one of the stars of the show, named Neil Fack. And he's got a brother, and they're kind of schlubby. They got mustaches. They kind of look the same. And then whenever they need help, like fixing some pipes, they're like, well, we got to call our other brother in. And so they call in their third brother, and it's John Cena. And so it's really funny. And like John Cena fits in so well with the show. It's really funny. Richie is still the best character in the show. Eben Moss, Bachrach. He's going to be playing the Thing in Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. So he's fantastic. The relationship between Sydney and Carmi is still completely horrible, and the strife is always avoidable if they just talk to each other for once. There's the season ends with anti-catharsis.
Okay.
So the reason Carmi is the way that he is because he went around like Batman, except he's a chef. So like he learned from so many great chefs around the world. And then the last restaurant that he was at before he came back to Chicago was his place in New York, and his head chef was Joel McHale. And he is like the most abusive, like verbally abusive person ever. And like the way that Carmi is because of the way he was verbally abused by this guy. And so he ends up meeting him again because there's kind of like this circle of great chefs. And so they're coming together to celebrate the restaurant that one of their chefs is closing because they're going to go off and live their life now. And so he gets to go, and he's like, I'm going to tell him what's up. I'm going to tell him what I think of him. And he's just like, he's F you. You gave me ulcers. You're a horrible person. I think about you too much. And then Joel McHale just says, I don't think about you at all.
Yeah.
And like, and he's like, everything you just said. Well, now look at you. When I got you, you were an okay chef. Now you're an amazing chef. You're welcome. And so it's a season that ends in anti-catharsis, and I mean, like, it's amazing. I can't wait for season 4. This is I believe this is the best show on so not streaming and not like HBO like
what do they call that, non-linear or something? There's a term for it.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so like you've got, which one is network television? Is this network television?
This would be cable television.
Okay.
Network television would be ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox.
Gotcha. So I think this is the best show on network and cable television.
Okay.
Not including like streaming, and I mean, I might include streaming and HBO. What would that be? Was that pay-per-view television, or is that like an extension of network television?
There's a term for it. It's not coming to my
Yeah.
head right now. I mean, it's turned into streaming.
Yeah.
And I know some of y'all are home screaming, why didn't y'all mention this TV show? We probably didn't see it.
That's a possibility. Yeah.
I don't watch a whole lot of TV shows. The fact that I watched this many is kind of amazing.
Yeah. I do like Skeleton Crew. It's not over yet, so that's why it's not here.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. There's a lot of stuff that like started like this year, but like the end of the season isn't until next year. So that's kind of why I'm not mentioning them so much. I believe I break that rule later on, but it doesn't win, so I don't mind it.